Hello and welcome to the podcast. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I'm the host of the show. My name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm a former lawyer turned business consultant, and every day I solve business problems. So that's what we do over here. Now, yesterday, I think we did a lot of stuff concerning uh, brand. Yeah, questions from, I can't remember this guy's names, but the business I think is Bablim's Clothing. So we took a couple of questions from him concerning brand. How do you figure out your brand? How can your brand help you scale? What else? How do you communicate your brand? All those kinds of questions. So today, since we took a break yesterday, we're going back to the major question of how to close high value deals. Now, for those of you who've been listening regularly, you remember that we've been taking this thing on a step by step basis because there's some people who will say, do you want to close high value deals? Here are the top three steps. Number one, do this. Number two, do this. Number three, do this. And I'm like, like that shit is crap. It's not realistic. There's no magic formula that you will just stand up and say number one, say number two, say number three, then deals will close. So if you've been struggling with closing high value deals, the problem is just that you don't have the right perspective, you don't have the right mindset, you don't have the right toolkit. You don't see the world of business the right way. You don't see the world of conversations the right way. You don't see the dynamics of sales the right way. So there's a lots of foundational elements that we need to fix first before we can start looking for, oh, say it like this, say it like this, say it like this. So in fact, I'm saying it to you right now categorically. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, whether you feel my steez or not, if you meet anybody who is telling you these are the top three ways to close high value deals, number one, say this, number two, say this, number three, say this, leave that person. You will hook, you will hang, because the top three things will work sometimes. The times when it doesn't work, you won't know why. How to recover, you will not know how. So, even if you're not feeling me, but you come across somebody else who happens to be talking in a tone that you like, or who happens to share the same philosophy about life or business that you like, but the person is coming at this from the level of systems. Now, here's the systems or the frameworks or the whatever that we need to put in place that will help us close more deals. Follow that person. Closing high value deals is not a matter of tips and tricks. It's about getting your mind right. It's about getting your understanding right. That's how you know what it is that you need to do. So like the World Cup just finished. So, if anybody's saying here's the top three ways to score a goal, like how? It's not magic. But it doesn't matter who you like, because I know some people like this guy, what's his name? Messi. But then my kids say Messi is old. I don't watch football, so forgive me if I, say one wrong name now. So, but they say Messi is old, and I'm wondering like, old how? The guy, is he even 40 years old? We'll say he's old. Anyway, so you look at Messi and then the other younger one, the 19-year-old kid, 19-year-old Argentinian kid or whatever, it's not a matter of top three ticks or top three whatever. Like, it's a framework. See, they've been small, they've been running drills. They understand the pattern. They see the court. They understand the ball. They understand the dynamics of the game. That is precisely what makes them lethal on the football field. If you want to be lethal in sales and discipline, you want to up your bottom line, it's the same thing. Same thing. So, before we took that break yesterday to talk about Bablim's Clothing and brand, if you've been following, you know that we have been talking about a couple of foundational stuff. We've been talking about conversation frameworks, question frameworks, qualification and discovery. What else? Sorry, forgive me, but the talk has been plenty. But anyway, I promised you guys that we're going to move on to closing because, Abby, let me check to be sure. Is it closing? I said. Okay, we've done consultative selling. Yeah, we've done that. Okay, we've done how to sell like a doctor. Cool. We've done objection handling. Abby, objection handling and closing. Okay, cool. We've done that. Oh yeah, closing. So that's what I promised you guys that I was going to do next. Sorry, I was just referring to my, I have a bunch of questions that guide how the podcast flows. So today, like I promised you guys, we're going to look at closing. And that is one thing that I want us to do next now when it comes to making sure your mind is right, that you understand everything. I want to make sure that we have the proper understanding about what closing is, because some of you have a limited understanding of what closing is. By the way, if you want to get in touch, you want to connect with me, you can call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080 And what else? Okay, if you don't have time to listen to long podcast episodes, then just send me a WhatsApp message. I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. And what I do is every day I share PDF summaries of podcast episodes. Now, the PDFs are very short, 5 pages. So, worst case scenario is going to take you 3 minutes to read. Let's say 3 to 5 minutes. If you're a fast reader like me, 1 minute, you are done. You get the gist of the podcast episode. You get the recommended next steps. Sharp, 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 back, back, back. Then, when you have a bit more time, you can now come over here back to the podcast and then get the longer conversations. So, again, to connect or to be joined to the WhatsApp group, 080 One, by the way, if you're listening for the first time, subscribe. Apple, YouTube, wherever it is you're listening. And also, tell your friends, tell your family members, because I can assure you, if they don't know that we have this kind of helpful business content, homegrown, Nigerian, available on the internet. If they don't know, so tell them. Okay, so closing. Like I said, too many of you listening have a very limited idea of what closing is. But there are... Okay, let me take a step back. Now, for those of you who've been listening for a long time, you guys already know this name, so you're not surprised. That's Tom Hopkins. TomHop, Abby Hopkins. Yeah, Hopkins. Tom Hopkins. Old guy. Very old guy. But don't be distracted by the fact that the guy don't old now. By the way, all of us are going to grow old, so we need to stop that crap. The most important thing is that the principles of the frameworks that he discusses, even though he's an old white American dude talking about real estate, they can apply for whatever business it is that you're trying to build. So, Tom Hopkins was the first guy where I got introduced to this concept, and I've seen that is there because Tom Hopkins talks about it, and it's also something I've come across in Neil Rackham, who's the author of Spin Selling. Yes, another book that I quote a lot. And yes, also another old guy. Yes, very old. Those people are older than Methuselah. But the thing is, do the principles work? Yes. So therefore, we will apply, even though the books were written in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, before some of us were born. All right. So there's this idea of closing. In Nigeria, when people hear close, what they mean is collect your money. Wake up, collect your money. So when people hear closing in Nigeria, that is what they think. I'm talking to somebody. My bill is 3.5 million. Closing means 3.5 million has entered into my account. So when most Nigerians hear closing, that is what they think. So when the average Nigerian business owner, CEO, founder, MD, hustler, self-employed, whatever, when they want to close, they are thinking 3.5 million, 3.5 million, 3.5 million. I want to collect my money. I want to collect my money. I want to collect my money. And that is what drives every single conversation. You call the person today, you want to collect your 3.5. You send a text message tomorrow, you want to collect your 3.5. You try to get an office meeting, you're trying to collect your 3.5. You go for a site visit, you're trying to collect your 3.5. Collect my money, collect my money, collect my money. One time, lump sum, big money. If I can't collect the whole 3.5, at least let me collect 2.8 today. Then I'll worry about the rest tomorrow. So, for Nigerians, when they hear closing, that is what they think. Closing means collect your money. Is that correct? Well, yeah, actually, it's correct. But it is not the whole picture. There is something missing from the picture, especially those of us who are in complex sales scenarios. See, the reason why I keep repeating this thing, I know some of you are tired, is because If you realize this thing, that is the difference between simple sales and complex sales, it will change the trajectory of your business. Now, collect your money one time. It's very easy and it's very simple when you're in a simple sales scenario. It is inexpensive. You're only talking to one party. Relationships are non essential. And these things are easy to understand. In that kind of context, collect your money is easy. So if you sell jeans, collect your money is easy because it's a simple sales scenario. You can harass people and say, look, Oga, will you buy or you're not going to buy? You can plead with people, mommy, now follow me, come buy. Nah, it's only 80K. You can do whatever it is and you can collect your money one time, lump sum, if it is a simple sales scenario. So that idea of collect your money one time, it's not wrong. It just happens to work best in a simple sales scenario. Unfortunately for you listening to this podcast now, a lot of you people are not selling jeans. Barb Limbs that we are talking about yesterday. You know all these boys now. You make senatorial, blah blah blah, or whatnot. And I know that years ago there was one guy in Abuja who was doing senatorial for 400K. That was 400K minus materials. And of course, the economy has gone up. So I know it's not 400K they're collecting again. So let's say now one single sewing that you do for somebody, 600K, 700K. Does that sound like a simple sale to you? Does that sound cheap to you? How many Nigerians just go around dropping 600K just like that? So when you're in a complex sales scenario, the thing you're selling is expensive. It has a long sales cycle. It takes a while to close because it's not as if somebody will enter your tailoring shop today and then just drop 600K like that. There's a little bit of go come. You have to do some relationship building. Then there's some complexity involved because even for sewing cloths, there is some complexity involved now. Somebody says, okay, I want senatorial. Okay, no problem. What kind of senatorial? What material for the senatorial? Where are you wearing this senatorial something to? Who are your associates? What kind of impression are you trying to make? You see, like there's lots of issue involved. So even for somebody like Bablim that we were talking about yesterday, he's in a complex sale. 90% of us listening to this podcast right now, maybe even 100%, we're all in complex sales. You're an architect, you're in a complex sale. Your services are as expensive as God knows what. You can't just issue a quote like that. There has to be go come. You have to sit down with madam or Oga and discuss what they want for the house. You look at the topography of the land. There's one or two things that will have to determine what will go into the house that you will build. It's not that straightforward. That's a complex sale. A lot of you are in complex sale scenarios and you don't know. So you can be a young architect or you can be a young bablim, all right? But because your only idea of closing is collect my money one time, every single meeting, every single engagement will be, how will I collect my 3.5 million? That doesn't work in a complex sale. So the dynamics for closing in the complex sales are different. And this is where Tom Hopkins comes in. Tom Hopkins distinguishes between a one-time close and a one-call close. I repeat, Tom Hopkins talks about a one-time close and a one-call close. One-time close obviously just means you collect your money one time. If it's a simple sale, you will collect your money one time. You sell birthday cakes, you will collect your money one time. You sell jeans, you will collect your money one time on the spot. If you have a pharmacy and you're selling medication, you collect your money one time and on the spot. Then, one call closes now are for complex sales scenarios where you close the deal small, small. You don't collect your 3.5 million on the spot. But what you do is you get Oga or you get Madam or you get whoever it is that is on the other end of the phone or sitting at the other end of the desk or who has come to your shop. Just get them to take one small step. Now, this is where Neil Rackham comes in. Neil Rackham talks about the concept of advancements. Advancements is where you close the deal one small step at a time. So, for 90% of us listening to this podcast now, this whole thing of collect your money one time will not help you. You'll be causing frustration in the sales process. Because every time you show up with Oga or with Madam, your focus is on the 3.5. You're creating a lot of friction. Because, of course, Oga is not ready to drop the 3.5 yet. If he was ready, he would have dropped the 3.5 the last time you guys met. We need to slow things down and realize that we're going to close this thing one step at a time, small by small by small. Which is why, for those of you who have been listening from the beginning, you already know, as a wedding photographer, small by small by small. So for me, my thing was business fairs, bridal expo, jam somebody on the floor. If they will agree to come to my stand, step one, that's a small close. I got them to the stand. I've closed on that, step one. Number two, they're at the stand. We talk. If I can collect their phone number or email address or physical address, I've moved it forward one step. I've closed. I collected email address. I collected phone number. By the way, for those of you who are new to the podcast, for me, my own personal preference is phone number. Phone number and physical address over email. Email. People do not open emails. Worst response rate. Worst response rate. Now, for WhatsApp and SMS, you have a better response rate. So you call, they don't answer, you send text message, well, you can get the conversation going. If you get physical address, in fact, you know what, physical address, and some of you will be afraid, that one requires quite a bit of skill. But, and you know what, let me just leave this thing. We'll talk about that later. But Sha, what I'm trying to say is, if you can collect phone number, please collect phone number. If they don't agree and they say email, well, no problem. We'll collect the email. How for do? So back to what I was saying now. So you collect phone number, good, close. You've taken it forward one step. Then after the bridal fair, I will now call them and see if we can fix a meeting. If they agree for the meeting, good, that's one more close. If they actually show up for the meeting, good, that's one more close. At the meeting, if I get them to select the samples that they like, good, that is one more close. Then we'll agree that I will send them what's it called, invoice, I'll be presentation, I'll be, price quote later on. If I send them the price quote, I call them again and I get them to, we at least agree on the particular package that they have in mind. That's one step, one more close. So you see that for the complex sale, it is one by one by one by one. So if you're a Bablims, you don't just show up to Senator so and so's house and then you're trying to see how you collect 3.5 today and just leave. Now, since I'm not in the fashion space, I don't know how it works, but you guys will advise me accordingly. That's for those of you who are in the fashion space. So, somebody has invited you to come to Senator so and so's house. Okay, the fact that you've gotten an appointment with the guy's house, no problem, that's good. My own focus, well, of course, I'll come with some sample so that the conversation will move small. But since somebody has introduced me, has done a hookup, I'll be trying to see how I can get one-on-one with Senator. So for me, actually, my own primary goal from this first meeting is not to collect that 3.5 from Senator. My first whatever will be, I need to get on a one-on-one basis with Senator. I need to be able to leave there with his phone number. If I leave there with his phone number, okay, good, I've made progress. So for me, that's the close I even be going for. Leave with his phone number, also get PA's phone number, because it's not always that Oga picks call. And then once you have the PA's number, that's when you actually know Oga's correct movement. Because Oga can tell you come on Monday, and I've learned from experience that you don't just show up on Monday. I actually will call the PA and say, hey, what's up, Kemi? How you been now? How work? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I'm going to be with you guys in 2 days' time now. Say, oh really? Yeah, now Oga said I should come to the office. Oh no. We're actually in Lagos right now. You're in Lagos. Okay, what time are you going to be back? Blah blah blah. You see, so from collecting PA's number, you have some good intel. So for me, my goal for that meeting is, number one, me and Senator will have to be on a one-on-one basis. I'll collect his phone number. I'll get PA's phone number. If I can do that, I've closed well for that meeting. Then number two, I also want to understand his sense of personal style. So we'll be having lots of conversations, about his styling needs, uh, things like that. So if I can get all that kind of information, no problem. I won't come with tape measure there because I don't think there's any point in measuring Oga at that sitting. But anyway, Bablims and those of you who are involved in fashion, you let me know what's up. So, in fact, for me, I think that would be the next thing because all you fashion people like Bablims, you people have mad design spaces. Like you've seen what they do in Lagos and Abuja. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty impressive. Outside, the house looks ordinary, but then by the time you enter inside, the way that they design it, like downstairs, is like showroom. Wonderful lighting, as if it's a hotel. Mannequins everywhere. Exquisite, native fabric and everything. Then you go upstairs. That's where Oga's office is. There's a one guy who even had a small wine bar with some correct hot drink. I saw one nice scotch there. I said the guy should, just pour one for me. He's like, no, I beg that this for my clients. And the guy gave me a star instead. He said, you, that's your own level. You drink star. All this scotch and American honey malt liquor, something, something. That one is for the clients. So you people do a pretty, pretty good job. And in fact, inviting people into your space, I don't know what you people call it, those of you in fashion. I don't know whether to call it studio or whatever. That could be a part of the process as well. So for me, I have this kind of nice setup. My first meeting with Chief, Senator, I'm trying to get a phone number, I'm trying to get PA's phone number. I want us to be on a one on one basis. We discuss his styling needs. Then I will now try and get him to come to my place for uh, measuring and styling session or whatever. So you can see now that when we're in a complex sales scenario, it's not a matter of collect 3.5 million now. We're trying to orchestrate things small, small, small. Okay, collect phone number, check. Build rapport, we're on a one on one basis, check. Got some information about styling needs, check. We have agreed that I will now come up with sketches for our next meeting so that he can decide, check. Next meeting, agreed that he will come by the studio so that we can look at the sketches and then also we can take measurements, check. So, excuse me. So, I hope you're beginning to understand now. If you're brand new to this thing, you're in your first year in business, you're in your second year in business, maybe even your third year. Hope you're beginning to see the dynamics now. You see how this thing flows. So whether you're like Bablims that we're talking about yesterday, or whether you're an architect, that's the scope. One call close. Eh? Is the scope. A call just means every single time you interact with somebody. If I call you, that's a call. If I go to your house, that's a call. If we go for site inspection, that's a call. If you come to my studio, that's a call. You get me? If we say let's just go out, let's just branch, let's enter Mr. Biggs, whatever, that is a call. So at every single call, we're trying to close. We're trying to get the next step. We're trying to get the next appointment. We're trying to get the next whatever that we're supposed to do to move the deal forward. So in complex sales scenarios, that's how you close things, small by small by small. So Neil Rackham calls that advancement. You're talking with somebody now, advancement. Eventually, you get to the point where you now say, oh, Senator, based on everything that we have discussed so far and the options that we have presented before you, we can get 5 pieces, each of them for roughly about 750,000 naira. I'll have to give you an exact whatever. And so if we're doing 7 pieces at 750,000 naira, that should be something within the range of, oh, sorry, this is the point where people realize I can't do mathematics. Anyway, so you do the whole mathematics and you say, okay, so Senator, it could cost anything between this and anything between that. Is that an amount you'd be willing to invest in? You see, so eventually you get to that point where you start crunching physical numbers and moving it forward like that. But for complex sales, the focus is not the first time you're meeting Senator, or if you're an architect, the first time that you're meeting Mrs. Okedengbe. The goal is not to collect 4 million from Mrs. Okedengbe today. That's not the goal. I know some of you are wondering what's my fascination with the name Mrs. Ogedengbe, and is it a real name? Actually, it is a real name because when we moved to Lagos back when I was 13, there was a church that we used to go to. That was a Catholic church. Excuse me, Our Lady of the Holy Rosary in Ogba. And there was a woman there, Mrs. Ogedengbe, and I thought it was the weirdest name ever. And I said, man, I'm never going to forget this name. And I had been using her name as a, just as a. By the way, if any of you know Mrs. Ogedengbe, who lives in Lagos, just shout her out. Just tell her that, Tabishima still remembers her. So, her and her husband. So I had been using that name, Ogedengbe, thinking it is it's the most unique name I've ever come across. And then lo and behold, I start this podcast. And then I meet another Ogedengbe. So there are at least two Ogedengbes in Nigeria. Now I know I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but yes, it is a real name. Just in case you're wondering, I didn't make that up. There are two people. One of them is a listener to the podcast. Another one is a lady and a husband that I saw when I was roughly about 13, 14 years old when my family moved to Lagos. Okay, enough about my personal history. So this is the proper perspective to have when it comes to closing. Yes, the whole thing of collect your money one time, a one time close, it is possible. You can do that on your first visit. You can collect your money as quick as possible, but it works best in simple sales scenarios. If you're trying to do it in a complex sales scenario, it is hard because you put a lot of pressure on yourself, you put a lot of pressure on the client. Now, imagine Senator. So, let's say Senator Omishaki is in front of you. He got the phone number from Senator Abdurrahman. Yes, he trusts Senator Abdurrahman, but really, it's the first time that he's meeting you. Is he just going to transfer 8 million to you straight like that? So it can be done. And there are people who teach that kind of thing, but honestly, I can't because I don't know how. So if that's what you're trying to learn, then unsubscribe from the podcast today. Start looking for somebody else. But for for complex sales scenarios now, architect, business consultant, interior design specialist, startup founder, fintech founder, you're selling a new payment processing something. What again? You sell solar or some other kind of infrastructure. You sell water pumps. Whatever it is. You understand me? All these kind of profession. It's a one call close. At every single call, get a commitment. At every single call, get a commitment. At every single call, get a commitment. In fact, perfect example. I say borehole. Good. We just sunk borehole for Momsi because Momsi is in Makudi. She has retired and she's now back at home. If the person that sunk the borehole, if his attitude was, oh, this is an old woman, let me just collect millions, millions, millions from her hand one time, you think Momsi would have dropped? You think she would have dropped money? How did you be like, this guy is running faster than his shadow? And then she will start posting and giving excuses. Some of you, that's the reason why you're struggling in business. It's a complex sale, but you want to collect your money one time like that. I mean, it's a borehole. So let me give you the example that this guy did. Anyway, in fact, let me continue. So the guy shows up, first of all. Then he looks around and he's like, okay, yeah, sure. It is something that can be done. Of course, Momsi goes straight to money. How much? Because that is what everybody thinks of nowadays. How much? Because we don't even know anything else. But he looks around, looks at the topography, and says, honestly, mommy, I can't tell you right now. Because it gets on kind of investigation where we're supposed to do first. But looking around at your neighbors, I can see that people have done some work. So it is possible. This one looks like a whatever terrain, but we're supposed to do some kind of readings first. That is what will determine. However, mommy, so far, in this part of Makudi, in Benue State, drilling has been between this amount and this amount, depending on how quick it takes to give water. So honestly, before you hit surface water, so honestly, mommy, I can't give you a specific figure yet. However, I can assure you, whether you work with me or with somebody else, that yes, the thing can be done. I've looked around, it can be done. I've seen that people are doing it. So, yeah, it definitely can be done. So, mommy, the next step I propose is this, that you should come back here and come and do a something, something, something survey. I can't remember the name. And then my mom says, okay, no problem. And then he says, and this is, I like the guy's approach. He's smart to cover his own whatever. Because if you're going to go and do report for everybody, you don't get any commitment. You just be doing free work up and down. So the guy says, yeah, I can do the report. However, we charge for the report. And what we charge is blah, blah, blah. Mommy, are you okay with that? Of course, Momsy hesitates. And then he says that, look, see, we deliver the copy of the report to you so that even if you don't go with us, the next person you're going to work with, you will show them and they can take it from there. And then mommy thinks, okay, not a problem. How much is it? Blah, blah, blah. Momsy discusses with me and my brother. We think, yeah, it's not that bad a commitment. Let's go ahead. So the next step is they come for the survey. And they come, they show up with all the gizmo, and then they do the survey. Most people, what they do is they do the survey and then they just, send PDF and then leave. The guy sits down with Momsy again and then tries to explain. You see this marker here, you see this marker here, you see this marker here. It looks as if this is going to be the best spot where we can go and find water. In fact, let me show you. And then the guy walks right outside. He's demonstrating. Very physical, demonstrating. Then he takes a big stone and then he puts it. Bam. This spot here, I think, is where we're going to be able to get the best chance of getting water. So, like I said, mommy, no pressure. Here's the report. I've explained it to you. Any other person that comes, this is my recommendation. This is the spot, blah, 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 blah. So, mommy, you need a few days to think about it, Abby. Say, yeah, I need to discuss with my children. Sure, no problem. So, mommy, if I don't hear from you like Tuesday, Wednesday, I can call you, Abby. Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. And then he leaves. Momsy has the report. She calls me and my brother, and then we continue talking. But now, you see the man's mind frame. You see the steps. You see the way that the guy is pursuing this thing small by small by small. You show up to a retiree, widow, whatever, and you're trying to collect 10 million on the spot or 50 million or whatever. Momsy will lock up. You could be a good engineer. You could be capable. You can be the best. But because your idea of closing is wrong, you be everywhere you go. People just they lock up, lock up, lock up. You think it's people doing you from your village. They're not doing you from the village. Okay, well, they might be doing you from the village, but you are not helping matters because you have the wrong idea about closing. So one step, one step, one step, one step, one step. In fact, the way the guy was carrying us along, I knew that okay, honestly speaking, this is the guy to do it because the guy is a professional. You can tell from his sales process he's a professional. This is part of the thing I'm trying to imbibe in lots of you listening to the podcast. And this is the reason why I say, some of you say, how do I set myself apart? How do I set myself apart? This is why I say in Nigeria, your sales process is the thing that should set you apart. You show up like a professional. You show up like this. I mean, come on, you're different. Already, from the start, you're already different. They already view you different. Because the competition, all they will do is they will come first of all and try and give mommy a figure on the spot. And then after that, they'll try and collect that money as quickly as possible. Anyway, 30 minutes. Let me just bring it to a close. So we will cut this thing in half. Because what I wanted us to do is to look at these different perspectives about closing and then to look at different types of closing, which is the one that people like to hear. Because all of you are always like, oh, what should I say? What should I say? What should I say? So we're going to go to that. What should I say next? But please remember, it's not just about what to say or how did you say, or you have to get this whole philosophy, this whole background correct first. Okay? So even when we continue tomorrow, we're not even going to go into what should I say, say these magic words, say these two magic words. We'll be looking at different groups or things that you can say or different groups of approaches that you can take to help you close the deal. So that would be a better way of looking at it. Okay, think of it in terms of approaches for closing the deal, not magic words that you will say. Anyway, it's been already 40 minutes. Let me just bring it to a close here. So, thank you very much for your time and attention. We continue this tomorrow. We're looking at different kinds of closing, different schools of closing, different approaches of closing, different perspectives of closing, different philosophies of closing. So, we'll continue with that tomorrow. So, questions, comments, queries, call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. You want to be added to the WhatsApp group, send me a WhatsApp message on the same number, and you have the PDF summaries, 3 to 5 minutes that you can read every day. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you all at the next recording. Sorry if any noise came in through the microphone, just because it's holidays and the kids are home. So I'll catch you guys next time.